Did Goldberg really walk out of a private autograph signing? Did he ditch a vendor? Or is this another case of wrestling promoters trying to spin a story so to save their face? Welcome back to the T Drop, where we break down the hottest wrestling stuff with absolute no soft behavior. Tonight, we're tackling a messy story coming out of the big event EX involving Goldberg, Bill Goldberg, according to Bret Hart, Bill Goldberg. A vendor called KNS WrestleFest and the event promoter Tom Unger from Big Event New York, and the two sides telling two different stories about what happened when Bill Goldberg apparently walked out of signing. Who's telling the truth? Well, let's find out. KNS WrestleFest is a vendor that basically they have a website, they get autographs, they do autographing, stuff like that for people that can't reach out and go to these events. So they go to these events, get stuff signed for people, and then they send them back at a fee. So, but recently, apparently, they are saying Bill Goldberg walked down on them. So they went into social media and wrote the following: KNS WrestleFest posted on their Facebook claiming Goldberg did a no-show to their so-called private signing. They stated that they will be doing a private signing with Bill Goldberg at the big event in New York, and they put it on their website. Hey, if you guys want stuff signed by Bill Goldberg, either mail it to us. They have a bunch of these guys do it. They say mail your stuff, or if you just want a photo autograph, we have it for you, and we'll charge you X amount, not including delivery. So you have to pay to get it here, and we'll charge you to send it back to you. So they did that. They collected a few items and money to do this, and they basically went to the big event in New York to do this so-called private signing. They basically wrote, and as you can see here, unfortunately, Goldberg private signing did not happen. We had all our items laid out and ready to sign after he was done with another signing. He said he was done, and he walked out, passed our stuff, and left. They apologized to fans who paid for autographs. They said they were super disappointed, and they made it sound like Goldberg intentionally bailed. So apparently they had everything laid out. Goldberg was, besides doing the public signing that he does at the big event, so people line up for him to sign their stuff. He also promised to do some private signing. So either he does it. Some people do it before the public signing with fans, or they do it after, depending on how the event is set up. As if you see on WWE Instagram, you see like John Cena or CM Punk or Cody Rhodes signing a bunch of autographs. WWE does it before the show so they can put it up on their shops at the event to sell them. So this place, because it was a different setup, they might do it before, or they might do it after the public signing, whatever the contract the big event set up with these athletes. So, but they made it sound on either, I guess this was posted on Sunday or right after the big event. They posted this and made it sound like Bill Goldberg bailed him out. He said, I was done. He walked out. He left. He went on his plane and went home. But here's the key detail about KNS's story, as eventually it gets revealed a little more and more throughout the coming days. They took payments for all this stuff for the so-called private signing, but apparently the signing was never contracted, meaning they never had an agreement with the big event to do a private signing with Goldberg. Big event had it with other groups like KNS WrestleFest, but not apparently with KNS WrestleFest, because eventually, once these guys posted it, the fans went crazy, the fans got angry, and they started attacking big event to the point that they said, hey, you're a great vendor and all, but it sounds like Goldberg was a jackass. Maybe the rumors were true. They basically called out Goldberg for being an asshole or whatever, because he decided to say, F the fans, I'm not signing anymore, I'm leaving. He had a 5 hour time limit. That was the contract that he had for the big event. He was there, he was contracted to be there for 5 hours. And then, based on the 5 hours, the big event splits up the time how he's going to be there. Maybe he does 3 hours of public signing and then he does 2 hours private signing, meaning he'll be on the floor at the big event for the fans for 3 hours and then he leaves. Or maybe it was 4, 1, who knows? That we don't know, except what Tom Ewer, the promoter and owner of the big event, states. And he states on this post, basically, no, he wasn't. He signed for the fans for 5 straight hours. He's talking about Goldberg. Ken from KNS wasn't guaranteed anything. I told him if we had time, we will get your items done. He shouldn't be posting this all over like the victim. This was my deal and my customers come first. Shouldn't take mail in orders from all of you not knowing if he was going to get it done. So basically what he's saying, his customers go first, meaning the people like me or any public person going to the event, or the private signing he did make an agreement with when they set up for Goldberg. So that's what he means, his customers go first. So if there was extra time, maybe Goldberg finished in 4 hours and a half his contract and he had 30 minutes left, maybe then KNS could do whatever they can. But they were never contracted to do it, so they never got it. It was not guaranteed because they didn't agree to it. It wasn't under Bill Goldberg's contract. He had 5 hours, that was the agreement, and if he had time, he would probably stay. But probably the fact is he had to fly out. He's from Georgia. His family's in Georgia. He wanted to go back home probably. And then he says, why couldn't the person that started accusing Goldberg saying, why couldn't he spend another hour or two to do the private signing? He's not really a celebrity anymore. Let's be serious. So why would he do 2 hours if he's not a celebrity? That's crazy, not calling him a celebrity. When Hulk Hogan's wasn't a celebrity when he retired then. If you're going by that standard, then Hulk Hogan's not a celebrity. Sting is not a celebrity. Get the hell out of here. And then Tom Unger responded, because that wasn't what he was contracted for. This isn't that complicated to understand. Yeah, very straightforward. He didn't have to stay. He had his own agenda for his time in New York. So yeah, like I said, Tom Uger claims Goldberg worked for 5 hours straight, and he did. Based on what I've seen on Instagram, what people are talking about, when the people that actually went to the big event, he was consistently working with people. He took small breaks to meet other people he worked with, like Sting and Big Show, but other than that, he was very there for the fans. He went around when there were no fans there waiting for him to sign. So Goldberg did sign for the fans. Goldberg did a private signing, just not for KNS. KNS were told Goldberg would sign their stuff if he had time. No guarantees, no contracts, no promise. This was his deal. So they shouldn't have taken mail orders. He basically. Point and simple, KNS overpromised. Goldberg didn't do anything wrong, and Goldberg shouldn't be blamed for this. And honestly, fans confirming everything that happened is true. Because no fans that went to the big event said anything negative as far as I heard so far about Goldberg. Some fans had great interaction with Goldberg. A lot of fans on Instagram, as you can see in some of these photos. He took photos, got items signed. He had conversation with some of the wrestlers. Macho Bears, one of the cosplayers I know, he was going around that day because it was Macho Man Randy Savage's birthday, and he asked people, some of the wrestlers that worked with him, to give a shout out. Even though he's gone, he was doing a compilation to Macho Man saying thank you for what you've done and happy birthday. So Goldberg even did that request. He picked up people as requested. So all this contradicts what is being said by KNS. and saying that he stormed out refusing to sign. He just was done with his contract. He had other things planned. He already had a schedule set up when he went to New York. Most people that come to other towns, they usually have a schedule of when they come. Not many people say, "Oh, I'm just gonna come do this and just lay back." Some people do that, but I guess for Goldberg, it wasn't the case. So who's telling the truth right now? Based on all this and the posts and what people are saying online, the evidence heavily leans toward KNS making promises they had no authority to make to the people that gave them money. They even eventually, that post that they first put up, you can't find on Facebook anymore. They eventually deleted it after Tom Unger from the big event responded. So, what really likely happened? When you put all the pieces together, the best thing we can guesstimate, because no one has really been very clear about this, but based on the interactions, we can at least put this together. Goldberg was contracted to the promoter, big event, obviously, and not the vendor KNS. Big event pays all these people to come to this one big event. They make a promise or whatever the promise is, and they profited through the signups and all of that stuff. But most of them have a limited time, so they are contracted for a limited time. But when it comes to vendors, they can request private signings because some of these vendors get things signed, they put it in their store for sale. A big one, like a lot of, if you go to any wrestling store or memorabilia store, they have things signed. Usually they go to these events and get them signed through private signing. And that's, vendors can request it from big event if they have the spot for it. If they have an agreement with people like Bill Goldberg or even Sting or whoever is there to do, say, X amount of hours public signing, but then we want this amount for private signing, and they agree to it, they put out that online saying we have 2 hours open for private signing, first come, first serve. Unfortunately for KNS, they didn't get it. And in order for vendors to do this, it can't be simply you show up and get it. You have to apparently go through a contract signing yourself. So you need to get a written contract. You need to get you have to pay the fee to get a private signing. You need to get the confirmation for your scheduled time, because maybe it's at the beginning, maybe it's at the end, and you need to get it confirmed so you know when to show up. And obviously, if they don't have it originally, maybe you need to get an approval from the talent that they can stay an extra time to do it, because maybe they agree just for the public time, and a lot of people request private time. The talent's going to ask for more money, obviously, so they have to come to a new agreement. KNS apparently, as far as we know, took money from people online for promising autographs that wasn't contractually agreed with the big event, New York. They never had it agreed, it sounds like. Unless KNS can pull it up. They haven't responded since Ben Uger from Big Event responded. They haven't rebutted at all. So it comes questionable. So they never had anything agreed for Goldberg to sign, but it wasn't fair to blame Goldberg. They were trying to make Goldberg a villain. There's already enough heat with him as a wrestler. Don't make his personal life a living hell. This is classical wrestling promoter vendor, I guess, behavior. When a deal collapses, they like to blame other things but themselves for overselling. And they should take accountability for what they did. Goldberg being done means he was done with his official contract signing, not some unapproved side hustle. Sorry, at this point it's a side hustle. You guys should have made sure everything was agreed to before you went online trying to sell it. KNS messed up. You guys messed up. Unless you can tell the world otherwise. At this point in time, from this video, you guys have messed up overselling. You guys took money from people for something you didn't agree to. So, and you try to ruin Goldberg's reputation on that. Kind of messed up on you. It's bad enough. It's bad enough that the IWC, the internet wrestling community, goes loud and honest and honestly incredibly annoying at times, trying to attack people online, whether it's calling people out, getting angry at people because of a storyline or because you didn't do this, you don't do that. So using the IWC using social media can be positive at times, but at this point, for the most part in recent history, it's been incredibly annoying. Like it's a bunch of people whining and all that. And when it comes to Bill Goldberg, wrestling X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, loves to hate on Goldberg. The second the original story by KNS dropped, people immediately jump in with the usual "that's Goldberg for you," diva behavior, unprofessional, which is messed up. They always do that, but in actuality, as far as I listen, when I talk to people that actually meet Goldberg, they tend to say positive things about Goldberg. They say the guy's polite, he's patient, he signs everything based on what they agreed to when they went there, talks with fans when they can with whatever time they have allotted with the fan. They do talk with the fan. He does based on the videos. I haven't met him yet, but based on what people tell me, he is very open to talk to the fans. He's very good in that, and is widely considered as one of the nicest wrestlers to interact with outside of the ring. There's a massive difference between when it comes to Goldberg, the wrestler, and Goldberg, the man. And even Bret Hart, the person fans always attach to Goldberg's name when it comes to hate, spent years publicly saying Goldberg was a genuinely good guy. In Bret's 2007 autobiography, Bret wrote, "I've always had a lot of respect for Bill Goldberg. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. What happened was just part of the job. I wish it had been a bit, he was a bit more careful, but we're always been friends over the years." And what he's talking about here is when Bill injured him and he pretty much had to step down from wrestling. And probably the main core reason why people tend to hate Bill Goldberg. It's become a meme. Bill Goldberg, Bill Goldberg. You know? But he said it in his autobiography. He stated that Bill Goldberg is a nice person. When it comes to a wrestler, I agree. Goldberg sucks. He's a quick wrestler. He does 3 moves. He does 3 moves. His match is under 5 minutes. Whatever. He is a bad wrestler. But like I said, we got to separate Goldberg the wrestler and Goldberg the man. When you go meet him, you're meeting Goldberg the man. Maybe he'll be a little wrestler on you when you meet him, but he's mostly the man, which, as far as we know, he's a nice person. Back to boot moment. Okay. Brett also admitted, "I was more responsible than anyone for downplaying my condition, believing the problem was a sore neck." Okay. In 2012 even, Brett responded to a fan asking if he held a grudge. Kit Man Wong, back in March 2nd of 2011, said, "You're a true pro, Brett, but do you still have that grudge with Bill Goldberg?" And Brett responded, "Never had one. I have great respect for Goldberg. What happened to me was an accident." Yes, accident happened. And yes, right, you say, Brett wasn't in the right mindset during his time in WCW because, with some things, and probably the only thing people remember is the fact that the way he got treated at WWE before he left, he wasn't in the right mindset. But that doesn't mean let's attack Bill Goldberg, at least Bill Goldberg the man. You can attack him as a shitty wrestler, but not his persona. Because that's what lingers at the end of the day after his time off of wrestling. It's everyone hates him because he's the one that took Brett out of wrestling. In 2015, Brett even posted a friendly picture of himself and Goldberg hanging out. So for years and even decades, Brett defended Goldberg's character as a person, not as a wrestler. He did say he wished he was a little more careful. But obviously, even though I'm bringing this up, before someone on the comments say, "Well, Brett did this recently." I'm getting to it. Let's go to 2016 in Denver, when Goldberg returned to WWE to a massive reaction. He Bill Goldberg returns to WWE after a long time away and basically started doing matches. One of the biggest one is being against Brock Lesnar. He beats Brock. He wins the title after a short match. He started doing Saudi shows and paydays. He gets major main events. He even gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. Goldberg started becoming a little relevant again. Not for the greatest things, in my opinion. I mean, it's once again a part-timer doing part-timer things. But Bret, of course, because even though Goldberg was becoming relevant again, Bret wasn't doing anything because obviously he was injured. And suddenly Bret's entire demeanor towards Goldberg flips because of this, because he begins taking shots after shots in interviews, accusing Goldberg of costing him millions, suggesting Goldberg belongs in the Hall of Shame, even saying Goldberg should have sent him money from Saudi payouts. Bill Goldberg. It became a running joke that fans now meme the fact that Bret can take any random question and somehow turn it into a Bill Goldberg insult. But the truth is, this wasn't the case before Goldberg's comeback run. They were in good terms, but because of the 2016 return, he started feeling a little resentment. They were friendly, they respected each other before. Goldberg apologized to Bret countless times, apparently, for what he did to him, for putting him in the shelf. But then Goldberg got hot again, and that's when the bitterness began. At this point, it feels less like a moral stance and more like a resentment, not because of the kick, but because Goldberg's career caught fire again. Let's see. A lot of them weren't in their right mind during the WCW era. Yeah, that's a fact. It was a crazy time. Everyone was trying to get up on the ranks. Well, what I mean is that you have to put blame on Bret for the situation he had even said. Ryusi is saying, if I wasn't on something that night, I may have been able to move out of the way. Correct. I mean, it wasn't in one of the WCW matches, wasn't Ultimate Warrior either on drugs or he was drunk, that he hurted people too. It was a lot of people were doing weird things in WCW. I forgot who he was wrestling that happened to. And yeah, so it coulda, woulda, donna. And I'm kind of, and because of all these resentment and all this stuff that he kept saying, the hatred from the fan base became weirdly personal and unnecessary towards Goldberg. Guys, you're not Bret Hart. Carrying internet grudges over a wrestling botch from 1999 is insane at this point, especially when Bret literally said in interviews and in his autobiography that Goldberg was one of the nicest people I met in the industry. Goldberg's reputation among actual fans is overwhelmingly positive for those that actually met him. This situation feels like a vendor screw up, obviously, when it comes back to this whole signing at the big event in New York. And the vendor didn't get what they wanted. They tried to spin a story knowing that fans would latch onto it because the Goldberg hatred over the Bret Hart thing. And they started talking, oh, there's the diva, there's that. I mean, it looks like it. Tell me if I'm wrong, KNS. They literally made it feel like they knew that there was Goldberg hate out there, and they used it to their advantage because, oh, he didn't sign my thing, even though you didn't get the guarantee. I'm sure Big Event is, if Big Event is not clear how to set up private event signings, yeah, that you can tell them it's on them. But you should have asked. You should have emailed Big Event. You should have called them if you have their number. I'm sure they list out to vendors all their contact info. You could have emailed them and say, hey, how do I do a private signing? You should have done that before promising anything to people on your website. To use Goldberg as a way to make him, to villainize him, is messed up. At this time, meanwhile, Goldberg hasn't said a single word publicly. He might stay in silence forever because at the end of the day, he doesn't need to say anything. The truth is speaking to him as we speak. On the bright side, though, let's end this on a bright side. Goldberg did get to link up with Sting at the event. Two legends, one building. Beautiful moment. So, to sum it up, what happened, not a Goldberg meltdown. At first, when it came out, first time everyone was saying he had a meltdown at the big event. When he walked out, he started acting diva-ish, when it wasn't the case. It was vendor making promises with no contract, miscommunication, and internet fans, as always, overreacting on Bill Goldberg because of the hatred they may have for them. So anyway, let me know your comments in the chat or in the video. Do you think vendors should be allowed to take pre-orders without a contract? Like this video, subscribe for more breakdowns, and thanks.